Hey there, welcome to this training. Let me start by asking a question that just might hit close to home. How many of you have experienced this? Yesterday, you were, one of the guys. You were a driver everyone came to for advice. You knew every truck stop, every shortcut, every DOT officer's face, and their favorite hiding spots. Other drivers respected you, management trusted you, and you had your place in the world. Then somebody said, "Hey, you'd make a great safety manager." And suddenly you're sitting behind a desk, and those same drivers who used to ask you for advice now look like you've joined the enemy. They avoid you in the break rooms. When you walk into the driver's lounge, conversations stop. You went from being the go to guy to being the guy they go around. And here's the kicker: management expects you to just figure it out. You know the trucks, you know the drivers. How hard can it be? Nobody told you that great drivers don't automatically become great safety managers. It's like being a great mechanic doesn't make you a great shop foreman. Different skills, different pressures, different relationships, and frankly, nobody prepared you for how lonely this transition can be. If that sounds familiar, you're in the right place because today we're going to fix it. Now, why should you listen to me about this? Simple, because I've walked exactly in your boots. I spent 5 years behind the wheel, drove everything from straight trucks to the 53-foot vans. I know what it's like fighting fatigue at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night, dealing with impossible delivery windows, and trying to make your hours of service work when dispatch gives you a load that's 500 miles away and they need it to be there yesterday. Then I made the jump to safety manager, and I was doing that for about 4 years. And let me tell you something: I made every single mistake you're probably worried about making right now. I was too buddy buddy with some of the drivers and came down too damn hard on others. I didn't document things properly because I thought we're all friends here, right? I tried to be everybody's pal instead of being their safety manager, and it nearly cost me my job. But here's what saved me: I learned from those mistakes, and then I spent 13 years with Old Republic Insurance where I got to see this transition from the outside. I worked with hundreds of trucking companies and saw which safety managers succeeded and which ones failed. I became a NATME instructor, teaching safety management to people just like you. I've been on every side of this industry: driver, safety manager, insurance investigator, and instructor. And you know what I learned? That safety managers who succeed aren't the ones who forget they used to drive. They're the ones who learned how to use their driving experience as their secret weapon. So here's my promise to you: in the next 25 minutes, you're going to get the roadmap I wish I had when I made this transition. You'll learn how to turn your driving experience from a potential liability into your greatest asset. You'll discover how to handle awkward relationship changes with your former driving buddies, and you'll walk away with specific strategies for building credibility with both your drivers and management. No theory, no fluff, just real world strategies from someone who's been exactly where you are now. We've got a lot to cover in a short time, so let's dive in. First, let's talk about why your years behind the wheel are actually your secret weapon in this new role. All right, let's start with something that might surprise you. I bet some of you are sitting there thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe they should have hired someone with a college degree or a safety certification. Stop right there. That's completely wrong thinking. Your driving experience is the most valuable asset you could possibly have in this job. And here's why. When you walk into that driver's room for a safety meeting, you have something that no college educated, desk trained safety manager will ever have. And that's instant credibility. Drivers can smell a fake from a mile away. They know within 30 seconds whether you've actually lived their life or you just read about it in a book. But when you walk into that room, they think, okay, this guy's been where I am. He knows what it's like when you're fighting to stay awake at 2 a.m. somewhere in the middle of Manitoba. He understands the pressure when dispatch gives you an impossible load and somehow you're going to make it work without breaking the hours of service rules. You've dealt with the shipper who keeps you waiting 6 hours and then blames you for being late to your next stop. You know what it's like trying to find legal parking for a 53-footer in downtown Vancouver. You've been there when the truck breaks down 500 miles from home on a Sunday night. That's not theory, that's lived experience, and drivers respect that. Now, here's the key. You have to know how to use the experience strategically. And I'm going to give you the magic phrase that will change how drivers see you forever. Ready? Here it is. When I was a driver, I faced this too. When I was a driver, I faced this too. Those 7 words can change everything. Let me show you how this works. Instead of saying, you need to do your pre-trip inspection properly, you say this. When I was driving, I faced this too. I know it's tempting to rush through the pre-trip when you're running late and dispatch is breathing down your neck, but let me tell you about a time that I almost had a wheel come off because I was in a hurry and didn't check the lug nuts properly, scared the hell out of me, and it could have killed someone. See the difference? One sounds like a rule from management, the other sounds like advice from someone who's been there. Here's another example. Instead of, you can't drive over your hours, try this. When I was driving, I faced this too. I remember being 50 miles from home with 30 minutes left on the clock, thinking I could just push through. But I learned the hard way that those last miles are when accidents happen because you're tired and your judgment is shot. Now, here's the critical part. You have to be willing to share your mistakes, not just your successes. Share your mistakes and not just the successes. Drivers don't want to hear about how perfect you were. They want to hear about how you screwed up and learn from it. When you say, I made this mistake so you don't have to, drivers will listen because vulnerability builds trust. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. The awkward transition from being one of the guys to being the guy who has to discipline the guys. This is probably the hardest part of the whole transition. Last month, you were complaining about management together. Now you are management. Here's what usually happens. You try to stay buddies with everyone so you don't enforce the rules consistently. Or you overcompensate and you become a hard ass to prove you're serious. Both approaches will destroy your credibility. Let me tell you about my biggest mistake when I first became a safety manager. There was a driver, Mike, who I'd been friends with for about 3 years. We used to grab beers after work, complain about dispatch together, the whole thing. Well, Mike started showing up late for his runs. As his friend, I kept giving him verbal warnings. Come on, Mike, you got to get your act together. But I never documented anything because, hey, we were buddies, right? Then Mike got into an accident. Not his fault, But when the lawyers got involved and started looking at our safety records, guess what they found? No documentation of his performance issues. It made our whole company look negligent. That's when I learned the hard lesson. You can be friendly, but you can't be friends. Not the same way you used to be. Here's how to handle this transition. First, have a conversation up front. When you get promoted, sit down with your former driving buddies and say something like this: Look, I value our friendship, but now my job is to keep you safe and keep this company compliant. That means sometimes I'm going to have difficult conversations with you. It's not personal, it's my job. Second, be consistent. The rules apply to everyone equally. Your former best friend doesn't get special treatment, and the driver you never liked doesn't get treated worse. Third, document everything. Let me repeat that. Document everything. I don't care if it's your brother. If there's a safety issue, it goes into the file. This protects both of you. And here's the thing: the drivers who are worth keeping will respect you for being. The ones who expect special treatment because you used to be buddies, they're not the drivers you want anyways. Now, here's where your driving experience becomes incredibly valuable. You can be the advocate for the drivers need in management meetings. You understand the things about this business that the office people will never get. You know that simple delivery to downtown Toronto isn't really simple at all. You know that some customers treat drivers like dirt, and some shippers will burn up a driver's entire day and then act like it's no big deal. Management sees numbers on a computer screen. You've lived the reality behind those numbers. This makes you incredibly valuable as a translator. When the driver comes to you with a complaint, you know how to dig deeper and ask all the right questions. For example, when a driver says, "This customer is a pain in the ass," management might think he's just whining. But you know to ask, "How long are they keeping you waiting? Are they providing safe parking? Are they making you do work that's not part of your job? Are they treating you with respect?" Then you can go to management and say, "Hey, we have a customer that's costing us money because they're burning up our drivers' hours of service with excessive wait times. Here's the data, and here's what we need to do about it." You become the bridge between operations and safety, and that's a position of real power and influence. Your job isn't just to enforce the rules, it's to help management understand their decisions have an impact on safety and driver retention. When you can walk into a management meeting and say, "I know this route because I've driven it, and here's why we're having problems," you have credibility that no desk jockey will ever have. Now that we've established that your driving background is your secret weapon, let's talk about the essential skills you need to develop to be successful in this new role. These are the things that will make or break your career as a safety manager. Let's talk about something that most former drivers hate: paperwork. I get it. When you were driving, I probably thought safety managers just sat around shuffling papers all day. Well, guess what? Now that you're the one shuffling the papers, and here's why it's absolutely critical: everything, and I mean everything, must be written down. Not because you don't trust people, but because you need to protect yourself, your drivers, and your company. Let me tell you a story that'll make this crystal clear. I had a driver who was consistently late for his runs. Good guy, been with the company for years, but always running 15, 20, 30 minutes behind. I kept having conversations with him. "Hey, you got to be on time." But I never wrote anything down because I thought, he's a good driver. He's going to figure it out. Then one day he's running late again. speeding to make up time, and rear ends a car at a red light. Nobody seriously hurt, thank God, but the lawyers got involved. During the lawsuit, they asked for all the documentation of this driver's performance issues. I had to sit down in a deposition and admit I knew he had a pattern of being late, but I had zero documentation. I mean, zero. The lawyer looked at me and said, "So you knew this driver had a performance issue that could lead to unsafe driving, but you did nothing to address it." That's when I realized how screwed we were. Here's the rule: if it's not documented, it didn't happen, period. Now I'm going to give you a simple system that will save your butt. First, document every conversation about safety or performance. You know, the date, time, and what was discussed, what action was agreed upon. Keep it simple and a few sentences in the file. Second, follow up in writing. After you talk to the driver about an issue, send them an email or give them a written summary. As we discussed today, you need to improve your on-time performance. Next violation will result in a written warning. Third, keep everything: training records, violation reports, corrective actions, even positive feedback. And don't forget about the positive feedback. It's crucial. If it relates to safety, it goes into the file. This isn't about being a hard ass, it's about covering your assets. Because when something goes wrong, and it will, you need to prove you did your job. Now let's talk about having difficult conversations with your drivers, especially the ones who used to be your buddies. This is where most new safety managers either become pushovers or turn into jerks. Neither approach works. Here's the framework I use for every difficult conversation, and I want you to memorize this. First, state the facts without emotion. "John, you were 30 minutes late for your dispatch this morning." Don't say, "John, you're always late," or "John, you don't seem to care about your job." Just the fact. Second, explain the impact. When you're late, it affects customer relationships, puts pressure on you to speed to make up time, which creates a safety risk. Third, get their input. "Help me understand what happened and how we can prevent this going forward." Listen to the driver's side. Maybe there's a legit issue that you need to address. Fourth, agree on a solution. So we're agreed that you'll leave 15 minutes early to account for the traffic, and you'll call dispatch if you're going to be more than 5 minutes late. Fifth, document the conversation and follow up. I'm going to send you an email summarizing what we discussed, and we'll check back in a week to see how it's going. Now, here's the key: your tone matters more than your words. You're not their buddy anymore, and you're not their enemy either. You're their safety manager, and your job is to help them succeed. Let me give you some scripts for common situations. The former buddy who's testing boundaries: "Mike, I know this is weird for both of us, but my job is to keep you safe and to keep this company compliant. I need you to work with me here." For the driver who's defensive: "I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm trying to keep you from getting hurt or getting us both in trouble with the MTO." For the driver who says, "You've changed." You're right. I have changed. My job has changed and my responsibilities have changed, but I still want to see you succeed. Remember, you can be firm without being an ass. You can be friendly without being a pushover. It's all about consistency and respect. Now let's flip the script and talk about building credibility with management. This is just as important as your relationship with the drivers. And here's the thing: Management promoted you because you know trucks and you know drivers, but they also need to see that you understand the business side of safety. You can't just walk into a management meeting and say, the drivers are complaining. You need to translate the driver's concern into business language. Instead of, the drivers don't like this customer, say, this customer is costing us $200 per load in detention time, which is burning up our drivers' hours of service and forcing them to rush their next delivery. This creates both a safety risk and a profitability problem. See the difference? One sounds like you're just passing along complaints. The other sounds like you're identifying a business problem and safety risks. And here's how to prove your value to management. First, speak in terms that they understand. Costs, risks, liability, efficiency. Don't just say, this is unsafe. Say, this practice increases our accident risk by X% and could cost us Y in insurance premiums. Second, come with solutions, not just the problems. Here's the issue. Here's what it's costing us, and here are 3 ways we can fix it. Third, show an ROI, return on investment, ROI on safety initiatives. If we invest $5,000 in driver training last quarter and our accident rate dropped by 20%, saving us $50,000 in insurance costs. And here's a pro tip. Learn to ask for resources effectively. Don't say, we need more money for safety. Say, investing $10,000 in dash cams will reduce our liability exposure and could save us hundreds of thousands if we have just one at-fault accident this year. Remember, management cares about safety, but they also care about the bottom line. Your job is to show them how good safety management improves both. The beauty of your driving background is that you understand the operational impact of safety decisions. Use that knowledge to become management's go-to person for anything that affects both safety and operations. All right, we've covered a lot of ground in the last 25 minutes, so let me boil it down to this, to 3 most important things you need to remember as you navigate this transition from cab to office. Number 1, your driving experience is an asset, not a limitation. Don't let anyone, including yourself, make you feel like you're not qualified for this job. You have something that no textbook trained safety manager will ever have: real credibility with the drivers. Use it strategically with the magic phrase, when I was driving, I faced this too. Number 2, document everything, and I mean everything. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. This isn't about being a hard ass, it's about protecting yourself, your drivers, and your company. Every conversation, every corrective action, every training session, it all goes into the file. Number 3, you're the bridge between 2 worlds. Your job isn't just to enforce rules and regulations, it's to translate between drivers and management. Help management understand how their decisions impact safety and driver retention. Help the drivers understand why the rules exist and how they protect everyone. Here's your 30-day action plan. Week 1, have a conversation with your former driving buddies about the new relationship. Week 2, set up your documentation system. Week 3, start using communication framework I gave you for this difficult conversation. Week 4, present your first business case safety recommendations to management. Follow this plan and you'll be amazed at how much more confident and effective you'll feel in this role. Now, here's the thing. Everything I've shared with you today is just the tip of the iceberg. The transition from driver to safety manager is complex, and new challenges come up every single week. Maybe next week you'll have to deal with a driver who's challenging your authority in front of other drivers. Maybe you'll face your first serious accident investigation. Maybe management will ask you to implement a new safety program and you won't know where to start. Here's what I've learned during my transition. You don't have to figure this out alone, and you shouldn't have to. That's why I've created the Safety Dawg Success Network. It's a membership program specifically designed for safety managers who want ongoing support, not just one-time training. Here's what you get. We meet 3 times a month as a group, tackle real safety management challenges. You'll be surrounded by other safety managers who understand exactly what you're going through. Plus, you'll get a full one-on-one with me every month, a full 1 hour one-on-one with me, your personal safety management hotline where no question is too basic. I've been where you are. I've made the mistakes you're worried about making, and I've spent the last 30 years learning what works and what doesn't in this industry. Whether you're dealing with a difficult driver situation, trying to improve your CVR or CSA scores, or just need someone to bounce ideas off of, I'm here to help. If what you've heard today makes sense to you, if you're thinking, I need this kind of ongoing support from someone who's actually been there, then I want you to check out all the details. You'll see exactly what's included. You can read about other safety managers who've made the transition successfully, and you can join us. Look, you've made the jump from driver to safety manager because someone believed you could do it. Now it's time to get the support you need, not just to survive in this role, but to absolutely excel at it. The transition doesn't have to be lonely and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You've got the experience, you've got the credibility, and now you've got the roadmap. Check out go.safetydawg.com. Go check out the Safety Dawg Success Network. I'll shoot you a quick email with its website so you can check it out. Thanks for spending this time with me. Now go out there and use that driving experience to become the safety manager your company and your drivers need. Safety Dawg, I'm out.